يا أيها الناس قد جاءكم برهان من ربكم وأنزلنا إليكم نورا مبينا. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الحمد لله رب العالمين، والصلاة والسلام على سيدنا محمد أشرف المرسلين وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين. رب اشرح لي صدري ويسر لي أمري واحلل عقدة من لساني يفقه قولي. رب زدني علما. Juzz 14, also known as Juzz ربما. The 14th Juzz of the Qur'an spans across two surahs. It starts with Surah Hijr and continues to Surah Nahl, ayah 128. Juz 14 begins from verse 1 of Surah Hijr, and in this juz, Surah Hijr completes at verse 99. Surah Hijr, meaning the stone land, is the 15th surah in the Qur'an. It has 99 verses and was revealed in Mecca. Surah Hijr describes what happened to the previous nations when they rejected the message of Tawheed that their prophets brought to them. Surah Hijr is introduced with the words, "These are the verses of the book and the clear Qur'an." This verse encourages people to study the Qur'an and the surah further. In verse 2 we are told that in the hereafter people will have regrets that they didn't listen or pay attention to the message of the Qur'an. After that, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala commands in verse 3, "Leave them to eat and enjoy, and let them be preoccupied with false hope. They will come to know." Verses 4 to 5 mention that every nation has a fixed term, and no one can hasten to bring it earlier, nor can anyone delay it. In verses 6 and 7, we are told that the disbelievers insulted Prophet Muhammad ﷺ by calling him Majnoon, meaning madman. But Prophet Muhammad ﷺ continued his mission, and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala granted him success and honor. In verse 9, it is said, "Verily it is we who have sent down the dhikr, meaning the Qur'an, and surely we will guard it from corruption." This tells that no matter what tricks people play to alter the Qur'an, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will protect His holy book, the Qur'an. Verses 9 to 11 tell that former prophets were ridiculed and laughed at by disbelievers. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala then mentions in verses 13 to 16 the signs present in nature. Stars have been created to beautify the skies, not to inform you about your future. This especially refers to those who believe in zodiac sign, also known as horoscopes. Reading or believing in them is a sin. After that, verses 17-20 tell us that the earth is one of the magnificent signs of our Creator, and that it carries millions of other creatures amazingly and serves everyone without shaking. Verse 21 tells that there is nothing which is not in the treasure of Allah. Verse 21 tells that there is nothing which is not in the treasures of Allah. So ask Him with sincerity and do not inculcate the feelings of envy when someone else gets blessed with some other blessings. Because whatever Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala sends or gives, we need to be content with it. Because there is always benefit in it according to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's knowledge and wisdom. Verse 22 teaches that water is a great blessing of Allah Almighty, which is provided in abundance that no man can produce. Verses 26 and 27 describe the essence of the creation of human beings and jinn, and that man was created from clay and the jinn were created from fire. Then, verses 28 to 39 give us the detailed account of the disobedience of Iblis. This then teaches us that being arrogant towards even one command of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala can prevent you from going to Jannah. There should be a lesson for us that we should think twice before we decide to do whatever we feel like doing, especially when we decide to do something that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has commanded to us to not do. In verse 39, we learn that disobedience is made attractive by shaitan to mislead one from the path leading to Jannah. Verses 40 to 42 mention two groups. One is the mukhlasin, the sincere chosen servants of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala who stick to the straight path, don't give in to the whispers of shaitan, and will eventually enter Jannah. Other group is the ghaween, meaning the deviators, those who easily give in to the whispers of shaitan, deviate from the straight path, and eventually will follow him to hellfire. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala make us of the mukhlisin and not the ghaween. Ameen. Verses 43 and 44 refer to the final abode of those who follow shaitan. It will be Jahannam, hellfire, which has 7 doors. A portion of criminals will be designated for every gate. May Allah the Almighty protect us from hellfire and the punishment. After this, verses 45 to 49 give us a description of the destination of the believers. It tells that those who adopt taqwa will enter Jannah peacefully and safely. They will have no hatred, no animosity against each other, and they will not face any difficulty or tiredness in Jannah. Jannah will be their reward, and it will be a time of peace. In verses 51 to 77, the story of Ibrahim alayhi salam is stated. He has given the good news of a son and is informed that the people of Lut alayhi salam would be punished. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's punishment to them was a piercing scream which caused them to die with at sunrise. They were also turned upside down, and clay pebbles were showered on them. Verses 78 and 79 refer to the people of Acre, to whom Shu'aib alayhi salam was sent. Verses 80 to 84 remind of the people of Hijr, the Thamud, to whom Salih alayhi salam was sent to. They rejected their prophet and were punished. In verse 85 we learn that we must forgive people and forget their wrongdoings. In verse 85, the importance of Surah Al-Fatiha is mentioned, as 7 oft-repeated verses are mentioned. Then, verse 88 tells that since the Qur'an has been given as a blessing, we should not be distracted by what the materialistic things in the world tempt us with. Verses 89 to 95 inform us that whenever people mock you, know that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will be sufficient for you against them. Just stick to His path and things will improve insha'Allah. In verse 99, the last ayah of Surah Hijr, it is said, "And worship your Lord until there comes unto you the certainty," meaning death. Surah Hijr ends with an advice that if we desire to be in Jannah, then we need to be firm on the straight path, continue with good deeds, and worship Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala so much that when death comes to us, we are in that state of worship, insha'Allah. At this, Surah Hijr completes. Next begins Surah Nahl. In Juzz 14, ayahs 1 to 128 of Surah Nahl are included. Surah Nahl, meaning the bee, is the 16th surah of the Qur'an with 128 verses. It is named after honeybees mentioned in verse 68 and contains a comparison of the industry and adaptability of honeybees to the industry of man. According to this surah, all wonders of the natural world, such as seas, stars, mountains, they are all proofs of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's infinite power. Surah Nahl begins, where Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala mentions that if man still refuses to accept and calls for Allah's punishment by adamantly committing kufr, he should not be hasty, for the punishment will certainly arrive. Verse 4 reminds the man to never forget where you came from. You were created from a drop, and so whenever you feel arrogant, remind yourself of this. Verse 7 states that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala created the animals as modes of transport, as food, and as delight for our eyes. It is important for us to be grateful to Allah Almighty when we see and use these blessings. In verse 9, we are advised to keep asking Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to lead us on the way to Him and not on all those other deviating paths. Verse 10 teaches us to reflect on the blessing of rain. It is clean water for us to drink that is falling from the sky. Next, verse 11 invites us to ponder over the blessings, such as olives, dates, grapes, and all types of fruits. These are all blessings of Allah the Almighty. Verse 12 notifies us that day and night and the sun and the moon are at our service. They are controlled by Allah the Almighty, the Most Powerful. Verses 12 to 17 tell that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has created the universe and everything in it, including the skies, mountains, the rain that falls from the sky, and everything in this world and in the universe. And He has created things for the service of humans. All of the blessings that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has given us, all of the favors that He has bestowed upon us, are provided to us for free. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala does not demand from us anything in return for all of these blessings. In verses 20 to 22, the characteristics of the idol worshipper is declared, and such people will never be able to escape Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Verses 23 to 25 tell that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is aware of the intentions and actions of the disbelievers. Their wrongdoing is indeed a burden that they will bear on the day of judgment. Verses 26 to 28 mention that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will surely punish and destroy the disbelievers. After that, verse 29 tells that Jahannam will be the place for those who were too proud to accept Iman. Verse 30 of Surah Nahl tells that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's book is the best gift. It brings the best bounty to the ones who stick to it. In verses 31 and 32, the reward of righteous deeds will be Jannah. Verse 33 to 35 then tell us to ask for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's maghfirah, protection from the evil effects of your own bad deeds. In verse 45 it is told that for some people their sins are like a mountain pressing on them, while there are others who think of their sins as a fly, meaning they think lightly of their bad deeds and do not take their sins seriously. Verses 46 to 47 tell that one needs to fear Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and His Messenger. After that, verses 48 to 52 tell that our Creator is only one. Our Creator is only Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and there should be no doubt about this. Verses 53 to 55 tell that whatever one is afflicted with, it is from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So why turn to other people when one needs something or loses something? We came from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, we will return to Him. And so we need to connect with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in our sadness as well as in our happiness. Verses 57 to 59 state that never be ungrateful at the birth of a girl instead of a boy. In verses 60 to 63, we learn that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is the mighty, the wise. If one thinks that Allah isn't punishing him for his bad deeds, it is made clear that Allah will sometimes let people continue in their wrongdoing so that they can be punished in the hereafter. In verses 65 to 73, we are invited to reflect over the blessings, such as milk, rain, dates, grapes, and honey. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has created us and provided us with sustenance, and has set the whole universe for our benefit. So we should benefit people no matter where we are. Verses 74 and 75 give the parable of a slave and his master. Verse 76 gives a parable of the blind man and one having sight. And then in verses 77 to 83, it is said that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is to be obeyed because He is the only creator and resurrector. Verses 84 and 85 mention the idol worshippers recognize Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's mercy, and yet they deny Him. Verses 86 to 89 tell that every nation has a witness against it, and they will face the result of their disobedience. In verses 90 to 91, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala instructs people to do justice and to give charity to the needy and fulfill Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's pledge. In verses 95 to 96, we learn to not attach ourselves too much to the dunya and its people. We must keep reminding ourselves that whatever we have will end. But what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has will last forever. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will surely reward those who are patient and steadfast while doing their good deeds. When we die, none of our worldly wealth or accomplishments or anything will go with us. Only our good deeds and our sadaqah jariyah will be able to help us. In verse 97 of Surah Nahl, the Qur'an teaches the importance of good deeds, that whoever, whether male or female, does good deeds while being a true believer, we shall bless them with a happy life and give them reward equal to their beautiful deeds. In verse 98, we are told that undoubtedly the Qur'an is the greatest gift. And so we are taught, when you start reciting the majestic Qur'an, seek Allah's protection from the reject shaitan. He has no influence over believers who trust in their Lord. Verses 102 to 109 state that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala narrates about His prophets, but the disbelievers do not believe the signs of the Qur'an. In verse 110, we learn that the disbelievers will surely be punished for their disbelief. In verses 118 and 119 of Surah Nahl, we are taught that if you do something immoral because you didn't know better, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will forgive you on the condition that you repent and correct yourself. In verses 120 to 123 of Surah Nahl, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala praises Ibrahim alayhi salam and presented him as a model of the thankfulest person. Ibrahim alayhi salam was an exemplary leader, obedient to Allah, pure in faith, and did not associate anything with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. He was thankful for his gifts. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala selected him and guided him on the straight path. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, we gave him the best in the world, and in the hereafter he will be among the righteous, and we revealed to you. So follow Ibrahim's religion, the pure in faith. In verses 124 and 125 of Surah Nahl, we are encouraged to do da'wah. It is our responsibility as Muslims to call people to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And you can call them in a variety of ways, such as calling them with wisdom, with caring advice, and with our polite ways, insha'Allah. Surah Nahl inspires us to be optimistic and encourages Muslims to keep faith in the promise of a victory. The surah ends on a final note where Rasulullah ﷺ is instructed to be patient. Your patience is from Allah. Don't grieve about them nor distress yourself because of their plots. Indeed, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is with those who adopt taqwa and with those who adopt the path of good. At this, Surah Nahl is completed, and the 14th Juzz is also completed. Juzz 14 gives us much to ponder upon and teaches us about the oneness of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and the power of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala make us of those who are righteous. And Allah knows best. سبحانك اللهم وبحمدك أشهد أن لا إله إلا أنت أستغفرك وأتوب إليك.